Hello, welcome to Talking Stars on the web at talkingstarspodcast.com. I'm here today. I'm your host, Damien Riley, and I'm here today with my co-host, as always, Darren Lucas. Hello,
Hello.
Darren.
Hello.
And we have an esteemed guest, Becky O'Brien, who's come back to meet with us. Hi, Becky.
Hello.
And she is an expert in film music, so it's always wonderful to have her for that. Other than that, we'll dispense with the trivialities and we'll start getting right to it. We are talking about remakes today, and it's kind of neat because we had Becky on the show. She was actually our first guest. Yay, Becky!
Yay.
And Becky, can I plug your site? I don't want to mess it up. Can you just say what the address is of your site and the title?
It's Film Music Central at www.filmmusiccentral.com.
Okay, excellent. And I go there probably about every day. She's got some great stuff going on there, blogathon news and things of that sort. And she's got some real good original pieces as well. Darren, you can get all his stuff on our site actually. But Darren, do you want to just say your site real quick of what you do?
It's Movie Reviews 101, which is moviesreviews101.com.
Excellent. Also a site I visit regularly and highly recommend. My site is rileyonfilm.com, as most of you know. But we're going to be talking about remakes today because Becky and I somehow came up when we were talking about, I think it was The Wrath of Khan. We were talking about Star Wars movies, and somehow the notion of remakes came up. Of course, Star Trek has had a lot of remakes, or I think it's had a lot of remakes, yeah. So it was kind of appropriate that it came out. Oh, only 3. Well, that surprises me. The format has been remade, I guess you could say, a lot. But anyway, we talked about that. We said, wouldn't it be neat to get together and talk about some of these remakes that are just coming down the pike like gangbusters in Hollywood these days? And we've actually done it. It took us about 7 episodes, but now we're here and we're talking about remakes. So if you have a remake that you didn't quite like very much, or you just thought it was way better than the original, maybe you didn't even know there was an original, that happens too, go ahead and leave us a comment. We'd love to chat with you in the comments about it. But without any further ado, we'll be getting into it here and talking about some of our ideas about remakes in Hollywood and the stars that are in them. So I just want to give a spoiler warning at the beginning. Our blog is a blog where we talk as movie critics about movies, and it's tending to be more of a spoiler type of a blog and a spoiler type of podcast. So if you haven't seen these movies, and I'll just say them real quick, we're going to cover Star Trek Into Darkness, Ben-Hur and the Ben-Hur remake, the Willy Wonka movies, the old and the new, Cape Fear movies, old and the new, Old Boy, old and the new, and The Departed, which I believe is a sequel film. Go ahead, Becky.
And Maleficent. Don't forget Maleficent.
Oh, okay, I must have missed that. Yeah, Maleficent. Okay, excellent. Maleficent. I write everything down that you guys tell me. So there's our spoiler warning. Otherwise, welcome, and we're glad you're here listening. Becky is here, Darren is here. We're going to go ahead and, if I could, I would like to go ahead and put the burden on my cohort in music criticism, Darren, to start with the first movie. Are you okay with that, Darren?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
I am going to start with the Asian movie Old Boy. Now, the original Old Boy came out in 2003 and is about a man who gets kidnapped and imprisoned in a room for 15 years, and then suddenly he gets released and has to find his captor within 5 days. And he has to go on a very violent discovery to why he was kidnapped, and he just takes out all his anger, revenge feelings, why they kidnapped him. and it's one of the. It's got the scene in the hallway with the hammer, which
Mhm.
is one of the most amazing single shots you'll ever see.
Hmm.
And to add an extra effect, it's actually on the IMDb top 250 at 66, the original.
Wow.
But as we know, the Americans like to make a bit of money, so they got Spike Lee to get Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen, and Samuel Jackson together to do their own version of the movie, which is exactly the same. But there's okay. I'm not going to say exactly the same. But he gets locked up for 20 years this time.
Okay.
And there's a few technological improvements because it is 10 years later filmed. But then they tamed it down. They've tamed it. As Damien, you've seen the American one, the hammer scene is just him running down a stairwell. It's not very amazing or memorable. And then every bit of brutality that's actually from the first one, including the killer twist, is exactly the same.
Yes.
And
wow.
If we go into the killer twist, we all know that he's got a female helping him that he gets romantically involved with. And it turns out that it's actually his daughter that they kidnapped. And basically he didn't know it was his daughter. And the idea is that this is a revenge story from a guy who got caught with, I believe it was his sister when they were at school, and our main character is the one that discovered them and then told everyone, ruined their lives. So he captured them all just to get revenge on them. And where this one lacks the final moments, in the original, the guy begs for forgiveness for what he's done. Says, don't do it. Don't tell my daughter that who I am. And the guy makes him do an ultimate sacrifice, which they don't put in to this one. And then they also get into a spiritual thing because it's very good at how they do that. Like he can have it erased from his memory with the right thing, and she can have it erased from her memory. But this is a perfect example of American studios not truly understanding like the origin of a story. Like, if you get what I mean.
I see.
And that's the problem with the remake, why it got slammed. Everyone said it was just poor compared to the original. Because it's like having an 18 horror movie and slapping a PG-13 on it. It doesn't make sense. And I know this does have some, it is probably rated R, but it's just done it because it's Spike Lee. And once you see the original, you understand the difference the impact has on everything.
What would you say the difference is that makes it a I mean, it's not a PG-13, you said, or you don't know.
It isn't, but it feels like compared to what the violence created from the original was. Not saying it's just violence for violence. It was violence for impact in the first one. This just doesn't have that impact shot. Like there'll be a fight and that's it. And
okay, I just looked it up. It is rated R. And Josh Brolin is holding a hammer on the cover. So
they've decided to use the hammer scene as the sell point.
Yeah.
But
well, it's funny that was what you mentioned as the most powerful, one of the most powerful scenes, you know.
Yeah. It's one of those scenes where you watch, you're thinking, no way is that a single take shot, and it's so choreographed when he takes out about 30 people with one hammer on his own just to get into a room to rip out someone's teeth. It's brutal, and the final scene, they've tamed it up so much. It's just not right.
Wow. Well, now you tempted me to see at least parts of the original now. I'm curious how they are different.
It's the thing is, I watched this 1 second, which is different to the other film that we'll do later. This one is one that I always wanted to see retrospectively which way round. Is the other one just a brutal version of this one, or is this actually quite good or not? Because obviously I know the twist. This is another example of a film that's got a killer twist. Like, imagine if they remade Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. And it's like, well, you know Darth Vader's going to be his dad at the end, so what's the point? It's like, the twist isn't going to be as impactful. And this one's lost that twist factor, because I knew that this twist about the daughter was going to happen. And what you could have at least swapped that up a bit, like done something to shock us, or not done it and done something completely different.
Yeah, that's true. That brings up a good point about remakes. Becky, do you think that remakes should rewrite the movie, or should they just stick to it like religion?
Well, considering that the remakes I like best are the ones that do rewrite the story, I think that it should be the former, you know? If you're just... Unless there's like been a significant leap of technology that improves the story, like back in the day when they were converting all the old silent films into these big Technicolor dramas, you know, then it's pretty much okay to retell the story. But if that's all you're doing is just telling it over, what's the point? You know, with no big significant with no big significant change in how it's presented. So I would prefer it if they're going to remake it at all, and most of the time I would prefer them not to. You know, if you have a good way to spin it differently, you know, I would prefer that.
Gotcha. Yeah, you agree, Darren? Or
yes.
We'll probably talk about that question more as we go along. But all right, Darren, do you have anything else to say about Oldboy?
Not anything else. No.
Okay, all right. Since we both have two movies and we want to, you know, keep it around an hour, we'll probably should keep cruising on. Remakes just bring out a lot in me, so it's almost my turn. But anyway, Becky, wonderful. It's your turn now. Go ahead and talk to us about your movie. Your first movie, which I think we said was going to be...
Into Darkness.
Into Darkness, yes.
Or I should say Star Trek Into Darkness, just so there's no confusion.
Yes.
And I have had a axe to grind with this movie since before it came out.
Is that Chris Pine? What's that? Chris Pine plays the captain, right?
Yeah, but that's not where my issues come with this. Well, to be fair, I have an issue with the Abrams verse as a whole.
Okay.
Because I grew up watching the original Star Trek films, the Next Generation films. That is my Star Trek universe.
Right.
And when I understood that they were rebooting it with the younger cast, I had extremely mixed emotions about it. Because of my loyalty to the original casts.
Yeah.
And so when the first Star Trek film came out, I learned to live with it, you know. And so I was willing to give Into Darkness a chance. And until it got leaked that Benedict Cumberbatch was playing a villain named Khan. And as soon as I heard that name, I knew exactly what they had done. It's like, oh my gosh, they're remaking Wrath of Khan. How dare they? And that's why.
Good choice of movies for today.
And that's where my whole issue comes in with this film, because as I think I may have mentioned the last episode I was here, Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek film they ever made. Ever. And as I sat through and watched it, I've only sat through and seen this film once, but I can see all the parallels to the original film, and it drove me crazy. Because it's like, they've already done it once, the original did it better, and no disrespect to Benedict Cumberbatch, he did the best he could, but he's not Ricardo Montalban, because remember, he originated the role of Khan in the television series first. Is
that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Khan first appeared in season 1 of Space Seed. And and they revived the role for Wrath of Khan. So that's where, if you watch Spacey, the ending sets up what happens in the film. But I mean, I understand that this is going to be an alternate universe, so technically the same events can happen again. And they tried to put a twist on it with, spoiler alert here, Kirk diagnosing himself instead of Spock. But it almost felt corny, the way they were exactly replicating the dialogue, and to top it all off, the impact of the sacrifice is lost because Kirk is alive again by the end of the film. It took almost the whole movie in the original universe for Spock to be brought back. So, and the part where Spock does the Khan yell, oh my gosh.
I don't know enough about it, but just to hear you speak with the manner with which you're complaining about it, righteously complaining about it, I'm sure, is amusing to me, because it really shows me that you had a heart for that first movie.
Well, because it's Wrath of Khan. It's almost, for you talk to any dedicated Star Trek fan, we hold it almost in religious significance to us because it's that good. And it's just like I've said in multiple blog posts that this is the one film they should not have tampered with.
Yeah.
They could have approached almost any other subject, and I wouldn't have complained. But
do you think they added a different slant on it?
I have to say yes, only because that they left Khan alive at the end of the film instead of killing him. Because instead of him dying, he's put back into stasis. So theoretically, he could show up again, but I don't see the point.
Yeah.
Other than that,
it's like the same verbatim.
Well, not so much verbatim. It's like it's mostly the same characters, slightly altered situations, but it's like I don't get anything out of it because the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking I've seen this before and it was done better. All the big effects, the chases and stuff. I don't know what the right word is.
I understand I hear your frustration.
Yeah, but I mean, the biggest thing that just bothers me is, and the worst part is, it's almost like they tried to deny that it's a remake because it's not a straight up retelling, and maybe they thought that because this isn't the exact same story that no one will notice that we're remaking the most beloved Star Trek film ever made. But if you look at the fan reaction to Into Darkness, it was, there was almost a backlash against it, like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And I could keep going, but...
Yeah. No, thank you. I think that makes a pretty clear point that the issue of, can you improve upon something that is already so good, and when do you, as a studio, as a director, say, hey, I can do something maybe not necessarily better, but different. And you're telling me the only thing that was different was that he lives at the end. So,
well, and there are other things, but that's the most significant one of them. I mean, there's also the fact that, I think Khan has been living on Earth, like, secretly for several years, and that's different. He was never stranded on a ruined planet, and because Wrath of Khan was about Khan and Kirk's second meeting, and whereas in Into Darkness, this is the first time they've actually encountered each other. The space scene moment never happened in the excuse me.
God bless you.
In the Abrams verse, although there is that one moment where Spock contacts older Spock to ask about the original Khan. That's like the one hint to the original film, and yeah.
I see. Darren, have you seen these
yes,
two?
and I have a couple of points and a couple of questions.
Right.
The point one is that I saw that they made a big point not to let Chekhov be in the same scene as Khan, because obviously in Wrath of Khan he gets killed, right?
Chekhov, no.
Chekhov's not with Benedict Cumberbatch, is he, at all?
I think, but okay, go ahead.
Well, because in the original film, Chekhov gets captured, and he's like, this creature gets put into his head that subjects him to mind control, but he doesn't actually die.
But they did that deliberately so that they wanted to stay away from that storyline in this one. They made a big point that they were never in the same scene, so nothing like that could happen.
Well, I think it's also an homage to the fact that Chekhov wasn't in the original television episode either, and it was a big continuity error that was pointed out that when Khan and Chekhov meet in the original film, there's a big point of Khan saying, "I know you," but they never met in the television series, not on screen anyways.
So is this...
And so I think...
Would this film have... I know I've never seen the TV series, but does any of the elements of this film tie into what was in the TV series before the film, before he got stranded? Because obviously it's the second meeting, as you said.
I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't either.
The final one is, I think I've discussed this before with you, is if he was just called John Harrison, would he have been a better villain? Which is obviously the name he used when you first met him. And they just had a villain that's just a new, fresh villain like we had in the first reboot, reimagination. If it was just someone random.
I think it might have actually worked a little better that way if they had left out the other Khan elements and just kept him as John Harrison. I mean, give him some motivations, of course, but yeah, I think it might have worked a little better that way.
Because the only scene I really know from the original is death at the end. So that's the only thing I knew from the original. They never properly worked together, did they, in the original? Because obviously they work as a pair halfway through. It's like, I'm a good guy, and I'll trust him.
Yeah, because you're right. In the original, Kirk and Khan, I mean, they only see each other through a view screen. They never directly interact.
So this could be JJ's weird fascination of doing the origin of how he got stranded, in this new universe. Like, they could say this ship crash lands 10 years down the line when they want to make the next one with both Chris Pine and Hemsworth. And they've already built the building blocks to say they're mixing the stories now. Like, this could be like what they did with Fast and the Furious with the whole Tokyo Drift is like the 7th in the series. They could have done that with the Star Trek. Because they've had their rivalry now between Kirk and Khan. So the next time they meet, they have that is the Wrath of Khan, almost.
They could. I personally hope they don't go back there, but that's just me.
Fair enough.
They leave a lot of things open in Star Trek, don't they? I mean, just in the TV show alone, I mean, they could go back and tie up loose ends all over the place. So, I think it's once they sit down to write the new big huge movie, which I think that new movie's coming out, isn't it? It's got to be soon.
It came out yesterday.
Are you serious? Oh man, cool! I have a new movie to see that I haven't seen. Excellent. So do you have it by you, Becky? You see it out?
It's playing, but I haven't gone to see it yet. I'm gonna have to wait till I actually have funds to go see it. But
yes.
The advanced reviews look really good, so it looks like they finally, going in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I hope you see it because you are definitely a fan. Do either of you have anything else to say about Into Darkness? Star Trek Into Darkness.
No.
And if anyone listening, I know Star Trek is just a behemoth of fans out there. So please leave us a comment. We would love to take your question. If you think Darren's right? Or if you think Darren's wrong, then let him know, and we'll be happy to. Of course, Becky's right. She's our guest, so don't say she's wrong. But we love to get comments. We've had a few, and they're just great. Well, it's my turn to talk about my first movie, and I'm going to talk about the Willy Wonkas. The first movie came out '71, and it was with Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. And I read that most people, unless you've been under a rock or unless you're really young, super young, like 10 years old or something, you may not have seen the original as wonderful. I tell all young people that they definitely need to see that movie in addition to what I call the Tim Burton Johnny Depp version that came out a few years back. Because the original is what I grew up watching on television. And that's strange to a lot of people because we don't really have a whole lot of television anymore. I don't even have cable anymore. I dropped it a long time ago in favor of Netflix and just DVDs and, however I can get movies. I watch them on the computer. So I don't really have a need for TV nowadays. But when I was growing up, we had a TV in the house. And so I was born about 70. I was born in '69, so you could look at my age by about 70 and just count in decades about how old I am. And in the '70s, I was like 0 to 10, and then '80s, I was 10 to 20. So the television was huge in the home. And I'm not kidding you. I know you guys are younger than me, so I'll just tell you, every single time, season or special, the television, ABC, NBC, they would always play Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I got to memorize the songs and I knew the colors, it's just, you have dreams about that show. And so it's difficult for me to kind of take myself away from that sort of, almost like a Disneyland idea of going into this chocolate factory and then, honestly compare it with the new one. However, I will say that if we compare the two Willy Wonkas, we kind of just give a quick synopsis. I don't know if people need it, but there's a poor boy named Charlie. He doesn't have a chance in life. He's really downtrodden. And the first one takes place in England. I can't remember if the second one does, but he wins a contest along with 6 other kids who are not really downtrodden, very rich kids, to go into the chocolate factory of Willy Wonka, who's, if there was a Nestle over here, I don't know what your big chocolate is over there, but Nestle is the big one here, Darren. And, just going into this amazing factory where all they make is chocolate, and there's wonderful little people in there that sing and dance, and it's just this amazing place that Charlie gets to go. Well, he goes through the day and he sees all these wonderful things. Each kid is kind of taken out as the day goes by because of vices, like they're selfish, or usually it's selfish, but different things. Gluttony kind of goes through the 7 deadly sins in a way. I never really looked at it that way, but it kind of does. And as a result of their sins, they are taken out in different ways. They're not killed necessarily, but they disappear. And then Charlie, at the end, is told by Willy Wonka that because he stole an everlasting gobstopper, he would. Oh, go ahead. Correct me. Yes.
Sorry to correct you. They were all given gobstoppers, but in the original film, it was because him and Grandpa Joe took a drink of the fizzy lifting drinks.
I think it was the gobstopper too, but I could be wrong. They were given them. Okay, go ahead.
No, but the whole scenario was because they drank from the fizzy lifting drink after being told not to. That was the big brouhaha.
Yes. Okay. He shouts something, and I will go back and check it out. He shouts something at him about everlasting gobstopper, and then Charlie goes back, actually, if you can remember this visual, and just kind of puts it down. While Willy Wonka is reading his notes, he said, "I said good day, sir." We have a little joke around the house here. We say that to each other. "I said good day." It's a kind of a really mean thing he says to him. And then but he puts the gobstopper down, and then he says, a golden deed shines in the darkness, or something like that. And then he turns around and he says, "You won, you won."
So shines a good deed in a weary world.
There you go. Way different from what I said. Way different. But yeah, and this is just, most people know that story, I think, and they probably know the mistakes I made telling it. But I just wanted to kind of give the story before I compare the Willy Wonkas, because that's really, to me, what makes it mostly different. Obviously, the fact that the first movie contains, I mean, I don't know the name. You might even know the name of the composer, but it's like, it's like George Gershwin or Henry Mancini. It's just that kind of score. It's just amazing score with music, and "Cheer Up Charlie" is just bring a tear to your eye, and all the songs that they sing throughout that movie, the Candyman, just amazing tunes. Whereas the second movie has very bland, just not even really songs, really, just sort of almost more soundtrack than songs. So obviously right there, as a musician and a music lover, I have an issue with that, and somebody who grew up with the songs, as I said in my disclaimer at the beginning. But the two Willy Wonkas is another issue that I think, everything else, like Darren was saying about Old Boy, is the same. I mean, you've got Veruca Salt, you've got Augustus Clue, all these characters, Violet, Beauregard, all these funny characters, kids that all, one of them turns into a blueberry, one of them gets sucked up into the chocolate. So everything stays the same in the basic storyline and most of the details. But what's really different is those two characters. And I think that, I hate to say it, because I really like Johnny Depp. I like most of Johnny Depp's, he plays Willy Wonka in the second one. I like most of Johnny Depp's movies that are not well known. The one when he gets into the real big ones, I'm not as much of a fan. Like my wife, she likes more trendy things, and she'll admit it. But she likes Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't even watch that movie. I can't really watch that movie. I just go, okay, whatever. I'd rather see him in Tusk, so, something like that. But anyhow, as far as Willy Wonka goes, I think he plays, to use your word, Becky, a creep. I think he's very creepy. I think more emphasis is put on him than Charlie and the kids. And I heard it said, someone defended it to me, actually film critic defended it to me and said that the reason that is the case is because the Roald Dahl, who also wrote the BFG, which is a movie I loved as well, I saw recently, meant for the movie to be about Willy Wonka, not Charlie, because that's why he titled it like that. But I heard something recently that I think rebuts that. I saw Willy Wonka at the theater. I'm almost done, by the way. And it was one of those classic, like our theater over here. I don't know if you guys do it there, but they do like Turner Classic Movies, and they'll bring them back. And the guy got up after the show was over, and he said, the reason that they didn't call this Willy Wonka, or they didn't call it Charlie and the Chocolate Factory like the book, is because I think it was Vietnam. They were coming back from war, and they were calling the guys that were coming back that were kind of messed up Charlies.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they didn't want to have the movie come out in '71, saying, "Yeah, here we are, these crazies coming back from war, and here's a crazy movie for them," So that's why they called it Willy Wonka. So I was so pleased when I heard that, because I was like, okay, yeah, whoever said that to me, they're wrong. So I think it's more a case of Tim Burton just wanting to do something different, and by my own definition, that's a good reason to make a remake. However, when the first one is so beloved, it's just so hard to separate from that, and I don't feel the new one really offers much. So anyway, if you guys have a comment or two, sorry I went so long.
I hate that movie.
The second?
The remake. Well, my general feeling is when the movie, as you said, is beloved, why remake it? Why tamper? And you hit the nail on the head. Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka is creepy. And Gene Wilder, he ain't.
No, very well said. Darren, do you have any comments about this film?
I'm going to go more on the defensive, but not for the reasons why.
Okay.
The one change that is correct from the books is the goose and squirrel scene. Because in the original, there's a golden goose, which has got nothing to do with the book. It's all squirrels. But they did say that would have been impossible to shoot in the 70s with the way it actually goes down.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it is cool that they were able to put the squirrels in, but other than that...
But then you think about it another way. Gene Wilder, however much I'll argue this, I still think Gene Wilder is a better performance. But if you think about who Willy Wonka is, a guy who's locked himself away from the world for 20-odd years, he would be more like the Johnny Depp version. Why would he sing and have all these positive songs if he's not been chatting to people? Like, this guy hasn't seen a human being for so long. He's gonna be like quirky and weird, like unsocial and awkward, like he is. Like that line where it's like everything in this room is eatable, even I'm eatable, but that's called cannibalism and it's frowned upon. That is a good line. That's a really unsocial line that if you're socially awkward, it would work.
Yeah, I like those two. Those are two really good points about new things they pulled out. Now, how much experience did you have with the original? I know it's done in England, correct? Like London, I think.
Well, actually, I thought it was filmed in Germany.
Oh, really?
I think
Darren,
so.
help us. Darren, you're over there in that part of the world.
I know we watched it literally all the time because obviously we read the Roald Dahl books at school. So the Roald Dahl is basically English, like the main author in England. So.
Right.
I meant where it was filmed. Sorry if I.
Yeah, me too. No, I did too. But that's okay. He just he read the books more than. Okay. Yeah, I just love those scenes. You know, when you're born over here in America in one place and you lived here your whole life, you look at England as this magical, place. But I'm sure if I lived there for a month or two, I'd probably get it, where everything is. But every time I watch that movie, I always think this is England. I always think of that just from being a kid. But you're saying it's probably Germany. I guess it'd be easy to look up.
I actually did. They filmed in Munich.
Okay. All right.
The other thing with it,
I love those scenes. Go ahead.
Obviously, when Roald Dahl probably wrote this, we have like one of the most famous factories is in England, so Cadbury's factory, and everyone it's one of the things all kids love to go to is this chocolate factory up. And when you're a kid and you read Charlie the Chocolate Factory, you want to go to this chocolate factory. So
you kind of think of that. Wow. Well, that's great. Let's go ahead and move on and go on to our second movies. Unless you guys have anything else to say, I don't want to cut you off.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, Becky, I'm excited. You had two more you wanted to talk about, Maleficent and Ben-Hur. Could you maybe get those both in one sequence?
Yeah. Let me start with Ben-Hur then, just in case, because
you haven't seen the remake, I hope, or you have some secret knowledge.
Well, it hasn't. I mean, this may not be fair because it hasn't come out yet, but I have a plethora of thoughts about it that I really wanted to share, if that's okay.
Great. Oh, I'd love it. Ben-Hur is, big deal.
Well, because it's supposed to come out in several weeks. I think it's due middle of August.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a bad feeling about this film since they announced it was in the works because I think they're crazy for doing it in the first place. Of course, the 1959 Ben-Hur that everyone knows of, at least by reputation, that in itself is a remake. It's a direct remake of the 1925 silent film.
Oh, wow.
And, that's where the chariot race comes from the silent film originally.
Oh, wow.
And
so interesting.
So, in essence, what's coming is a remake of a remake, which happens every now and again. But the thing that, well, here's the thing about the 1959 Ben-Hur. This thing won 11 Oscars at the Academy Award. 11. Only that record has never been surpassed. It has only been matched twice by Titanic and by Return of the King. No film in history has ever beat that many Oscars, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's Charlton Heston's amazing performance, you know, as Ben-Hur. And more particularly for me, there's Miklos Rosa's unbelievable score for this film, which I hold in very high regard. And, you know, I can listen to the Parade of the Charioteers from the Chariot Race all day long.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's one of the greatest film scores ever created. You know, most people will agree with that.
Thank you for sharing that with us, because you are definitely an authority on that.
Yeah, and so I look at this film, and I'm like, you know, they cast, I mean, granted, Jack Huston, who's cast in the title role, has a great acting pedigree. You know, he's John Huston's grandson. But I don't envy him trying to live up to Charlton Heston's performance, first off.
They have big shoes to fill, don't they?
Huge. And, you know, the trailers have been out for a while now, and I was determined to be fair, you know, because I haven't seen the film yet, and so I held.
And you were probably partially excited too, right?
A little. I mean, I was holding out hope that maybe it'll be good. You know, just because something is remade doesn't mean it's going to be bad. That's what I'm going to say about Maleficent. But then I saw the trailer, and, you know, mark my words, if this film does not bomb at the box office, I will eat my hat.
So when it's getting Oscars, can we have you back on?
And if that film wins anything, I will eat my hat publicly. Well, here's why. I have my reasons, okay? So, I mean, the trailer, you know, lays a lot out there. And having seen that movie, I grew up watching it several times a year growing up. So I know the story, I know what happens, and I can tell you right now, a lot of the plot from the 1959 film is missing. So, for those who haven't, can I do a quick summary here?
Yes, please.
So, for those who haven't seen Ben-Hur, any version of Ben-Hur, Ben-Hur is a prince in Jerusalem, very wealthy, and his best friend is a Roman named Messala, who returns from study and training in Rome as a tribune of the garrison in Jerusalem. And they grew up together, they're the best of friends, but spending time in Rome has changed Messala, and he's determined to crack down on any opposition to Rome. And knowing how influential Ben-Hur is, he wants to get names of those who are against Rome, but Ben-Hur won't tell him. And to get revenge for this, Messala takes there's an accident when the new governor arrives in Jerusalem. A roof tile accidentally falls from Ben-Hur's house, striking the governor, and Messala takes the moment to have everyone arrested. He throws his mother and sister in jail, sends Judah off to, that's his first name, Judah Ben-Hur, sends him off to be enslaved in the galleys, and that's practically a death sentence.
Yeah.
But along the way, he ends up saving the Roman consul's life. He spends several years in Rome, becomes a chariot driver, comes back to Jerusalem. They have the climactic chariot chase. But at the same time as all this is going on, and this is the big thing, all of this is happening parallel to the life of Christ.
Yes.
Because what a lot of people forget is that the full story is Ben-Hur, a tale of the Christ. Yeah. All of this is supposed to be happening parallel to this, and at several times, Judah runs into Christ. You know, we only see him from the back, but you know who it is.
Yes.
And so this all culminates in the crucifixion, the resurrection, the big reunion. Now, having said all that, in the trailer, I can already tell you there's no going to Rome. I know that just by looking at it. We go straight from Judah being a galley slave to meeting the sheik with the horses and the chariot race. We're skipping like a 30 to 40 minute subplot of the film.
Well, it was like Gone with the Wind in length. I think, they had an intermission. It's probably like a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, and so basically they're cutting it in half, but without those details, there's no character development for Ben-Hur. And also, and this is the part that worries me more than anything. Pardon.
No problems.
There's only so far in all the previews and stuff I've seen, there is one single shot of the crucifixion in the distance. There is no mention anywhere else of Christ, religion, forgiveness. It's all, you look at the taglines, it's all about vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. And that's not the point of Ben-Hur. It's about getting over, that need for vengeance and accepting forgiveness and love and... And
well, that would be an excellent one to discuss at length when it comes out because...
Oh, believe me, I plan on it.
Yeah, because Ben-Hur is, to me, it's like Alice in Wonderland. It's like The Wizard of Oz. It just figures its place into cinema, maybe even more than that. I mean, I think Spartacus is another one, like those. They're just... They're the foundations of cinema. And so they're really taking on a lot. Now, just real quick to say, I wanted to hear about Maleficent too, or if you want to keep going, we can. But I just, I just want to make the point that I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But you mentioned throughout the film a lot of allusions and appearances of Christ, and it's even called the... what did you say? The Tale of the Christ or something like that?
I should be more specific. Actually, the novel this is all based on is subtitled The Tale of the Christ. I think
it is. It does say that in the movie. Yeah.
It does or doesn't? I can't remember.
Does. It does. Okay. But all I was going to say is that, like, in the time of Charlton Heston, bless his work and his heart. What a great actor he was. The Planet of the Apes is like some of my favorite, set of movies. And he has passed on, but he was like, put it this way, and I don't want to get into a religious discussion, but when I met my wife, you start dating and you start talking and religion comes up, and I said, so what's your religion? And she said, my family raised me at the Church of Charlton Heston. And I thought that was so refreshing because he has kind of just a way of, and before he died, he would do trips to Israel. I remember there were commercials on TV where he would get people to go to Israel with him. He just has that voice and stuff, but for all intents and purposes, he was just a movie star like everybody else. He was out drinking, he was out doing whatever they were doing and stuff. There was almost like a Hollywood religion in those days. And so I just think it goes a lot with the culture, and what was acceptable back then is the fact that they were able to put all those scenes in. If they did it nowadays, they'd have to say, well, how good did the last Jesus movie do? The Jim Caviezel, is that who played Jesus in that movie? Yes. They have to look at all these things of the culture. So I just want to throw that in there because they may not do all that stuff because that was acceptable back then. There was more of McDonald's had scripture up on the walls and stuff. So it was just a different time. So anyway.
I understand that, but to me, but at the same time, there's no getting around the fact that that's an integral part of the story. It's not like they. Yeah. It's not like they randomly included it in there. That's part. If I read a good chunk of the original Ben-Hur, it's an integral part of the story. That would be like. Yeah. Oh gosh, let me think of a really
leaving the Force out of Star Wars or something.
Yeah, exactly. That would be like if someone, God forbid, did a remake of the original Star Wars and removed all references to the Force. It wouldn't work. you know. And,
Yes.
and I understand that cultures change, perceptions of religion and film change, and all about being accurate, but Ben-Hur is one of those things where religion is part of the story,
Yeah.
and if you take that out, you erase the core of the story, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and I
Darren,
know,
I know you haven't seen it, but do you have anything to add?
I would say be very skeptical with the director. I have just IMDb'd him, and
Good.
while they're good films, they're not like epic sort of sand and sandals stuff. But the one thing you would
Really?
have to say is this genre of films doesn't sell at the box office anymore. Like we've had,
That's kind of what I was getting at. So they have to pay their bills, so they're going to look at the Ben-Hur aspect of the revenge aspect, like the 300 with Gerard Butler. Those films, are awesome films, and people pay to go see them. But I'm not so sure how much that they're going to pay to see something with the story of Christ weaving in and out. They might. I don't know.
when we look at what we've
Anyways.
had recently, and they've all bombed. Like all of this genre, like both the Hercules films were dull. Like the Noah film was awful.
Oh yeah.
Gods of Egypt unfortunately bombed, even though I loved
But that
it.
was
Did you?
bad.
I
Guilty pleasure.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm like in the minority here, but I went to see it in the theater, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And if it had come out about 40 years ago, it would have, run away with the box office, because it read just like a late 70s Harryhausen film.
Hmm.
But I digress. So.
Well, how about Maleficent? we'll
Yeah.
talk about Ben-Hur when we've all seen the new one. How about that? That'd be nice.
Right. So Maleficent is that rare example of a remake I actually like. I didn't think I would, because Disney's been in this vein of remaking all their animated classics with live action films, and they've done Cinderella and The Jungle Book, and I think Maleficent was in the middle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to go see it originally because I like the 1959 Sleeping Beauty very much. But it so happened that my university was showing Maleficent for free, so I went in to see it, and I was just like, wow. Because it's not a straight retelling of Sleeping Beauty. It's not pretty much all the same characters, but instead it's all from Maleficent's point of view and her story, which happens to coincide at some point with the Disney version we all know.
And I'm so sorry to cut in because I'm loving what you're saying right now, but I just really, to me, this is the whole point for me of the episode, is to do something different, to take a different slant on the original story. I think we do better, even in Cinderella, which I thought was pretty good that Disney did recently. If they would have done something maybe from the mouse's point of view or something crazy like that, then I think there's a righteous reason to make a remake. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there. You made me think of that. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But like, and I really liked how they did the story about how Maleficent had wings in the beginning, explaining why she walks with a staff. Why does she have a raven helping her? How did she...
Yeah.
First they go through, how did she get to where she is? And the whole subplot of her and King Stefan formerly having a romantic relationship adds a whole new level of meaning to the christening scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the entire film in general. But I love that it resolves some plot holes seen in the animated original. For example, in the original animated version, the flora and fauna are seen to be, they can't do anything, but yet somehow they raise Aurora for 16 years. And I love how in the Maleficent, they show that Maleficent's been secretly taking care of her all these years, and that's why she grew up so well, because those pixies are hopeless.
Do
hopeless.
Do you have Netflix, Becky?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
Oh.
But I do have Hulu.
Oh, Hulu. That just does TV, right?
No, not anymore. Actually, they have their own selection of movies and whatnot, and it's really an even split between the two anymore.
There's an independent film called Wildlike.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen it. I did a review on it. I loved it. I actually watched it in Hawaii in a hotel room. I just thought it was great. They had Netflix there, so I watched it. But the girl in it plays Maleficent when she's
Mhm.
young. I can't remember her name right now, and it's bothering me. But anyway, you should see it because she's in it, and then also Bruce Greenwood, who plays Captain Kirk's kind of elder
Captain Pike.
guide. Yeah, Captain Pike. Yeah.
No, 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 sorry, Admiral Pike. I misspoke, but
There you
yes.
go. And of course, he dies in the movie, but he's in that too. It's him and her, and it's really good film. So if you get a chance, it's called Wildlike.
I will keep it in mind.
It's got two people that you probably really like. But anyhow, yeah, Maleficent's amazing. Darren, anything on Maleficent?
I actually just thought it was like a prequel. But
Yeah, you know what? It's more, now that you say that, Becky, is it a prequel or is it a remake?
Um, it's technically a remake. Well, it starts off feeling like a prequel, but about halfway through the film, we have the christening scene, which I mean is it.
There's like an overlap, you're saying.
Yeah, it would be more fair to say they're overlapping points because if you look, the christening scene is a verbatim recreation of the animated original, and that was at Angelina Jolie's insistence, by the way.
Hmm.
And it starts off as a prequel, but from the christening on, it's a remake of the animated film.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great one. Maleficent, my daughters just love it. They're 8 and 11. They watch it all the time. It's good, too. I like it, too, as a grown-up. Anything else on Maleficent?
Um,
Let's not walk away from it till we're ready.
one last thing. I did like how that they reevaluated the idea of true love. Because if you look at the animated film, I mean, Prince Philip and Aurora meet once for not very long, and suddenly they're in love. And the new Maleficent addresses the fact that you don't generate true love just like that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so that's why the kiss doesn't work, but Maleficent's kiss does, because she practically raised her. And also, I learned something about this film that I didn't realize right away.
Oh, what?
And so, when Maleficent gives her curse, she starts out by saying that Aurora will be beloved by all who know her. That includes Maleficent. Because she comes to know her and love her. So basically, she unknowingly set the groundwork for all this happening when she worded it exactly like that. And so perhaps if the animated Maleficent had actually gotten to know Aurora, that might just have happened. Who knows?
Well, I've just got a call from Angelina Jolie. Let me patch her in. We'll ask her a few questions.
Oh, man.
Darren, get us some stars. You said you
we
would.
have some stars there on iTunes. When you rate us.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. That's funny. Not those stars. Anyway, well, thank you so much about Maleficent. That is incredible film. We love it. I'm going to go ahead and send it to Darren for The Departed. Enlighten us about this film, Darren.
Well, The Departed is the film that Martin Scorsese finally won his Oscar for Best Director for. And is considered one of the best gangster movies ever made. But the original source material is a trilogy from back in Asia again, the Infernal Affairs trilogy. Well, they're just called 1, 2, and 3, so it's that simple. No fancy names. But I watched Departed first, and we all know I am a big fan of that. But people have always said go and see Infernal Affairs. So I went back, And yes, there's subtitles, and then you're trying to figure out who these characters are. And you have your like DiCaprio and Damon, like both moles and in both ways. And then you're like, what's going on? What's going on? And then they do certain scenes. And then you watch the second one, and it's more. Part of it's a prequel, part of it's a sequel. And then you watch the third one, and they introduce like the Mark Wahlberg character. But Scorsese took all three films and squeezed them into one to make something just as effective that will always go down as some form of a classic to his name.
Mm.
And this is an example of how you can condense a movie into being great by taking out a lot of the subplot that isn't necessary, especially when you don't follow it completely.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, when you watch like with little bits of it, like you don't need to see like the whole of like when DiCaprio's going undercover. Like they do it as like a montage, don't they? Like with the Irish, like I forgot what the band is, but it's like that Irish music, just showing him like beating people up, doing things, and then he's in. But in the film, like the Infernal Affairs, they do like whole scenes of doing everything. You don't need that if you're building what you need to build. And the same with Matt Damon. You see his rise quite quickly in this film, and the therapist is the same. Like they both, one's seeing the therapist for help, one's seeing them for a relationship, and you've got the same gangster. But then you also see in the original stuff, you see some of the training stuff, which again is literally a montage, and everything that isn't what you'd call truly necessary gets montaged into The Departed, and you understand everything that's happened in that scene, which a lot of people can't do, but Scorsese nails perfectly.
Oh, what a talent. A gifted director. Becky, it's kind of like what you were saying at the beginning when you said, I said, well, why should we remake a movie? And you said something to the effect of, well, if there's new technology.
Right.
And he's talking about a montage. Now, when you say montage, it's been a couple years since I saw The Departed, but are you talking about like a split screen or just
it's
short?
Like when you just follow what the action is, and they got like they do like the beat 'em up scenes, like doing some dealing stuff, but you just have the Irish music playing in the background. So say he's part of the Irish gang, and they're all from like the streets of Boston, aren't they? And very traditional for what the scenes are, but you don't need words to describe what they're doing anymore.
I see. Wow. Well, I'll probably see that one again. The fact that that was his first Oscar is significant to me.
Yes.
He should have got many more than that, but well, okay. Oh my gosh, this has been so enlightening. I'm gonna go ahead and close out now. I was gonna say a word about the Cape Fears, but we've talked some amazing things. Ben-Hur, Willy Wonka, just Star Trek, some amazing points. So we could carry it over to another remake show down the road, or a different show altogether, talking about some of these other movies. I'm sure Cape Fear we could talk about Cape Fear for a couple of shows. But that is a Martin Scorsese film as well, very scary. And if you want to have a lot of fun, do what my wife and kids and I did last night. We got popcorn and Cokes, and we watched the original with Robert Mitchum as the evil guy. And then we continued just past midnight to watch the modern one with Robert De Niro, for which, thankfully, both my daughters fell asleep. It's quite violent, but it's just vengeance film, and there's a lot to say about it. But I'm going to save it for another time. I enjoyed talking about Willy Wonka. If the panel, you guys both, has anything to add about anything on remakes, or what you said, or what I said, or what, you have anything else to say?
I just hope that Hollywood doesn't screw themselves over by overdoing it, especially Disney.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the list of their upcoming films, like from 2017 on, most of them they're all, when they say untitled live action fairy tale film, you know it's going to be a remake of something. And I'm just worried that they're going to that they're going to keep going to their detriment.
And I think there's so many original ideas to be had, and we're speaking to you, Disney executives. Look at the new ideas. Stop, trying to recreate the things that are so great already.
Yeah, and please don't remake Pinocchio, which you're planning to do.
Yes, I'm sure they will, but Figaro. We'll see how they do Figaro. All right, Darren, give us some closeout here. Not closeout, but just your final thoughts.
Well, we all know that remakes are getting plugged because they make money, and we've seen it quite a lot in the horror world, which I'm sure we'll do one just on horror movies eventually. But
I think it's time, Darren. It's your turn.
But we also have seen the fact that even some of the studios of this year especially have decided they just don't care about their remakes. The two big examples are Cabin Fever and Martyrs. They're a big plug when they first said they were remaking them, but recently they've seen they've been bombing and they've just sort of slipped onto like Netflix. No one's really realised they both got remade. So we can already see that the idea is dying. But sometimes they do need a retelling. That's the sad story. It's like in September in England we have Ben-Hur and Magnificent Seven. Do we need both in the same month? They're two films considered classics, but the younger generation.
What an excellent point.
The younger generation won't watch the older films because the older films are made as an experience for like a night trip. I always feel like Ben-Hur 3.5 hours long. You're not going to sell that at the cinema now. It's simple as that. They're not going to do an intermission because they want to have as many cinema blocks as possible at different showings of the film. That's the problem. 3-hour films don't sell at the cinema. And that's...
No, not anymore.
And even like Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits. Like the Hobbits got slammed. The Lord of the Rings got boring. And it's just a dead-end thing for money making now. You need something that's 90 minutes, 2 hours. Wham, bam, thank you. Don't need to keep the attention anymore because the audience is too lazy.
Yes.
But Ben-Hur would probably be better remade as a TV show, a long TV show like Game of Thrones.
Darren, you're a genius. You should go work for the executives, I swear. That's a great idea. And that's what is happening now. Like back then, the long movies were happening. But they're not happening anymore, But TV shows are. Look at Walking Dead. What season is that thing in? I enjoy watching it, but
It'll be 7
seasons. Yep.
It's only 7? Gosh, I thought it was 17.
I mean, technically, if you think about it, long movies are still happening, but now they just wait until the DVD release, and then they release the director's cut or the ultimate cut, or they just don't show the long version in theaters anymore.
And they're just ripping off their fans twice. That's the sad thing as well. Like people have gone to see Batman vs Superman and gone out. And then they're like, actually, there was bits that just need extending. We'll slap an extra like 40 minutes on a DVD. It's like, we talk about this more than Captain America somehow. And how is it that people talk about the film they hate more than the film they loved?
Because it's fun to talk about things you hate.
Is it that Captain America is too safe, and because it was such a safe film, and Batman vs Superman actually took a risk?
Yeah, who knows why? Yeah, I like the Batman vs Superman better myself.
I think Captain America is more fun.
Well, okay. Yeah, he's a hilarious guy. We did that thing on your site. What the heck is your
opinion about
site again? Film Music 101. No, that's wrong.
Which way around?
There's no music in it. I'm talking to Darren first.
Movie Reviews 101.
I'm kind of blowing my first hosting, but that's okay.
Movie Reviews 101.
Great. And you can talk about things like that on Darren's site. He has a lot of voting, a lot of interactive stuff, and Captain America versus
Batman.
Other films. by him, and you can get into all that with Darren. Go over to his site. I like the way he involves his readers with voting. Becky, you are Film Music Central. Did I get it?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. That's it. Film Music Central. I always tell people, you don't even really need the URL. You just type in Film Music Central in Google, and you should be able to get it. And then Becky, if you need another search term, and it'll come up. But that's hers. FilmMusicCentral.com, correct?
Yep, you got it.
Great. And then I am RileyOnFilm.com. Thank you out there for listening. We're going to wrap for today. If you have a star, and then Becky, may we have you come back another time?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like I've cut you off, but we're trying to keep them a certain length, because the Ben-Hur factor. We don't want to do an intermission.
Definitely after that film comes out, we'll have to reconvene and discuss.
Oh, yes, I would love that. So anyway, thank you out there for listening. If you have a star or a topic that you'd like us to cover, get in touch with us at our website that has all our podcast episodes, talkingstarspodcast.com. And you've got everyone's info that was on the panel today. Thank you very much. And we are out.